Yes, Lahiru. Yes. Let me give a small introduction and then we can start off.
Sure.
So hi everyone, good afternoon, and thank you for joining the seventh session of the Podium Tech Talk series. This is a series of interactive and knowledgeable webinars aiming to enlighten you on the latest trends in the world of digital transformation, and also how Asiata Digital Labs provides services that accelerate the global digital adoption of businesses around the world. So for today's session, I would like to introduce two industry experts here, Lahiru Wijayarathne and Buddika Zoysa, who are part of the quality assurance team here at ADL. So a little bit about the speakers. Lahiru Wijayarathne is an industry expert with over 15 years of experience in the quality assurance industry and over 3 years of experience working at ADL. Lahiru is a certified Scrum Master who holds a master's in business administration from University of Kelaniya and also a bachelor's in information technology from the Sri Lanka Institute of Information Technology. And your second speaker for the day, Buddika Zoysa, who has over 13 years of experience in the industry, and he also possesses over 3 years of experience working here at ADL. He specialized in performance testing, and he also holds a master's in information technology from the University of Colombo and a BSc in information technology and information systems from the Sri Lankan Institute of Information Technology. So today's session is on the topic of fearless testing, and our speakers will touch on the topics on introduction to quality assurance, people involved in quality assurance, fundamentals of quality assurance, and quality assurance services here at ADL, and also some use cases. So without further ado, I'll hand over the session to the speakers. Guys, over to you.
Thanks, Anne. Thank you very much for your welcome. Okay, good afternoon to all, and good evening to my Malaysian and Indonesian colleagues as well. Hope you are doing well and safe. Right. Okay. Let's move. Fearless testing. Right. So today we take a very precise and timely manner topic, fearless testing. Right. And what fearless testing does, how as a QA personality you can develop fearless testing, what values, what essence do you need to have. To discuss those, here I'm Lahiru, head of QA Asiata Digital Labs, and with me my colleagues and associate architect Buddika is me. Right, let's move on. Right, under this today's discussion, this is our very high level agenda, what we're going to discuss. Let's move directly to our slides. Right, what is fearless testing, guys? Now hope you guys get to know this topic maybe most of the time in the social media campaign which are done by our ideal marketing. Maybe this topic you can't find in even Google because this is not conventional. Right, so this topic, why we come up with this such a topic, as industry expert and be in the industry, we realize that a lot of struggling point as a QA people in the QA jargon. What make people to be strong in order to carry out fearless testing, right? As in that case, you might search the Google. There's no specific guys statement like in Wikipedia or something like that. It's what impression you make it, right? It's something like a testing type, like smoke testing, regression testing, or it can be another design technique. We use generally boundary value, equal partition. What is in your mind? Right, it's all about testing without fear. Right, again I want to reinsist that this topic we are bringing to here because we need the QA people to be test anything without fear, without afraid. Okay, now forget about everything. What do you mean by fearless? Right, what values? Right, what essence do you have to be fearless? Right, let's take one example. Let assume when you're walking in a road, you came up with some sort of a abnormal person who attacked you. Right. So now, what's your next step? Right? How do you protect yourself? Right? How do you defend yourself? That's very important, because if you know some sort of a martial art tricks and tricks, right? Then you can easily protect yourself. Example, it doesn't matter the person who in front of you, strong, weak, big or small, right? Where it's coming from doesn't matter, because you know your basic of martial art, how to protect yourself. So in that case, what it tells your confidence, right? It tells your confidence, because of your basic skill, you are confident enough to protect yourself, defend yourself, right? So likewise, here in a fearless testing without fear, what as a quality assurance engineer you need is a confidence. That's the critical value attribute you need to build it up within you. Okay, now let's take a few examples. One example is something like a storytelling. Then I'll map how you make your confidence with this story. Right. Now let us assume the person who is going to take a new vehicle, right? He need to have some sort of a driving license. So what in any country we does is we go for a training school, right? We go for another 3 or 4 weeks training with a supervisor, then sit for a aptitude test, then again trial, then done. You got the license. You got the driving license. What does it mean? You can drive? Yes, of course. Why not? You can drive because you are entitled, you are authorized, uh, driving license user of this particular country under particular category. So in that case, you can drive, right? In this audience, guys, now maybe there are undergraduates, there can be fresh graduates. At the same time, there can be some people who just completed a degree or diploma and got into the industry, just got in, and maybe 1 or 2 experience. Right? That what does it mean? Do you have you all can start testing or join for any company as a QA engineer, associate engineer? Yes, you can, because you have lay out your basic understanding of to carry out the testing. Likewise, you if you have a driving license, you can drive a vehicle. So yes, you can do. Right? You can start testing. Right. Let's see next journey, next story. Now let us assume the same person, the person who having the driving license very shortly, and get a chance to drive the vehicle in the highway. There is no person in the support you. Can you imagine what will happen? Right? Sometimes he might drive, but if it's the first time he's moved driving his vehicle, riding the bicycle in the highway, right? It is different atmosphere, right, guys? Complex environment. You have to drive the vehicle at least minimum of 80 kilometers per hour, isn't it? You have to focus, concentrate, right? Because previously you were a passenger, not a driver, right? In that case, you cannot, enjoy the, outside of the road. Because now you are driving. The first time experience, right? So sometimes because of your lack of experience, may be case to, unsafe driving. Maybe you are met with some accident, meet with an accident. That can be happen, right? That because of your lack of experience. Likewise, now let us assume the person or engineer who joined the industry with a very minimum experience. Somebody doesn't have, as I said, undergraduate and postgraduates, right? Work in the project. What his experience is, right? Different project domains, fintechs to loyalty. It can be BSS, business support services, any kind of. Uh, So it's a different experience and different complex model. We call waterfall to agile to you got Kanban, right? Different agile models. Sprint, different new tech words, jargons. You need to adapt, right? Then there's a client sync up call, sprint sync up call, right? End of the day, defect triage, a lot of new sync ups. And at the same time, manage internal team. It's not like you work in the university. It's not like you work as an undergraduate. It's a professional team you are working with, maybe super seniors, maybe architects, right? You have to work, manage your internal team. Now, what we build with that, you build your experience, right? So within that experience, what to build up the confidence, right? Through that experience, you build the confidence. You can ready for next project, right? Maybe you are sometimes you need to improve something, but when you come next project, you improve. Your confidence is building up. Let's go next one. Next one, right? So let us same person driving in a high traffic area, right? Even in Sri Lanka, or any other in Malaysia, even Indonesia, whatever country, we have to face with traffic. What happen traffic? People are not all like us, right? Pressure from others' vehicles, lot of noises, beepings, right? Somebody comes and try to overtake the vehicle in a short term distance, right? Right. Sometimes your next vehicle will stop at once, just a matter of seconds, right? Right. So people are crossing the road, right, without any alerting, no crossing, not using the crossing roads. Unexpected scenario, isn't it? Right now, now let's assume as your new driving license owner, how you drive. It's on your car, maybe your dream car. How you drive, how you protect your car. It's not easy, right? Pressure because of, let assume, maybe sometimes luckily now you have the what we call the auto gear vehicles. Maybe let assume clutch vehicles. Do you have the clutch balance, proper clutch balance? If not, what happened? The vehicle will stop, then beep comes down from the back sound of the other vehicles, right? A lot of interference, right? It's a lot of pressure, right? You sometimes feel that you not drive again. So that's the feeling you get as a alien or newcomer. Likewise, let us same apply to the projects. Okay, now you go into the projects, right, as a pressure undergraduate, right? Very short term experience, right? Then requirement. We all know as a testers, engineers, requirements are a very critical factor. But clients, different clients, tedious clients, good clients, we can't expect their behavior, but everybody expect multiple requirements, right? Deliver the multiple requirement to achieve their business as usual, go to market strategy from their point of view, pushing you, give me, right? And then the on-time delivery, whatever the dependency happen, you are not giving any other chances. Okay, guys, this has happened, right? But we need to go the delivery on time. And your senior in your management, company might say, yes, this is a very critical project for your future. We need to get it done, right? Don't lose, right? Do your best. Giving the unlimited pressure for you guys. At the same time, internal delays. Now we're gonna be working with the team, our counterpart, maybe our they are working with our shoulders or our development team, right? Most of the cases, development team doesn't achieve their targets, even though they promise, right? Even whatever you name it, sprint or whatever things, they're not happy, right? Maybe there can be situation, but that development delays shrink the quality assurance engineer's timeline at the end of the day, right? At the same time, sometimes as a quality engineers, we missed the defects we call or bugs, the initial phase of our cycles. But at last, luckily find it in the last phase. How you manage, right? Sometimes we all take requirements are very clear, but when you are developing, when you are test case designing, only you get to know that requirements are unclear. How to handle, right? You will be fed up with this requirement. You will fed up with this your day-to-day activities, right? Why? You don't have the right exposure, right? You are not adapt. Now, if you're a smart engineer, you are going to be adapt for this particular scenario. At the same time, now, quick decision, correct decision, right time, right? When you see the risk, when we are seeing that unexpected delivery challenges will be come to us. So in that case, you do in advance alert mechanism for your leaderships, right? This all are come to you. So what again? Your confidence may build up with the exposure and adaptation. That's pretty much enough, right? So you are getting into the getting into the model, right? Right. Let me go for let's go next one. Right. Next one. Very nice one. Right now, sometimes you are driving, when the way, or sometimes you are better half, sometimes you are fiancé, right? You get caught with the police. Why? Sometimes you miss the road signal, you forget it because you are newcomer to the road. It doesn't, it doesn't come to as a automatically into mind. You just driving because you're used to be a passenger previously, right? Bad road habit. Sometimes careless driving. What happened at the end of the day? Cops come and say, oh, hold on, and put us fine, right? What does mean? Right? Your discipline. Now put into same thing into the our engineering concepts, our team. Now, how extend you respect your team, your stakeholders, starting our client to requirement gathering to development team to QA to project manager to release manager to PVT test members, right? How extend you respect to the team? That's must, right? It's again make your confidence, right? Align with common goals. You can't do whatever you wish. We are running for a common goal. You can't go here and there. Always you set your expectation to common goal, right? And then accept mistakes. That's another critical factor, right? Maybe you are a developer, maybe QA engineer. Let us takes this foremost into technical QA engineers. So look, you miss a test case, which make a defect slippage in the production. You have to accept it, right? You're learning. You have to accept it. You have to apologize it, but recorrect as much as possible. Make sure not to happen it again. Okay, so that's we develop the disciplined person in our career, in our quality arena. So this is pretty much important, right? Then what else? Now you are in a good shape. What else you can develop your confidence? This is we call that knowledge about destination. Now, when you're a driver, you should know where you're going, right? Without knowing, you are going for the hell, right? So in that case, you should know your destination particularly. At the same time, when you come to the project arena, you should know your milestone plan, right? When you are getting your delivery from a development team, simple, right? Secondly, when you have your demonstration to the user, right? Finally, when you go for your product to the production live, you know your destination plan. If you know only your destination plan, then only you can plan your activities, isn't it? That's critical. Without knowing that factor, if you are going here and there, you will never achieve your destination. You will never achieve your target. That is, you need to understand. That is, it's like your bread and butter in the projects. You should understand. So these all attributes make you a confidence engineer that make use of what to do the testing fearless. You are very strong, right? Let me give one example now. When we publish this topic, right? One of my colleague called me and say, Lahiru, so this topic is bit, awkward to me. But what are you going to tell about it? Are you going to attack the development team? Fearless testing means testing without fear. Then we have to attack the development team because they are our counterpart. They are the people who make our journey mess, jeopardize. Is that right? No. Right? We need to protect our subject. That's must. How do you protect? Not attacking somebody else, but making strong yourself, showing you are strong. Right? To be a strong, you need to confidence. That's what we create as a backbone. Okay, hope I think you, as of now, you got something out of this, and we go for next, right? Right. Next critical factor. Right now, everybody, even for a undergraduate, when you are doing a thesis or finally a project, right? You are taking some sort of a requirement, maybe industry, maybe a friend of your, a friend, some relative, but you collect your requirement, isn't it? Right? Otherwise, we can't do any project. Now, define a scope here is, in most cases, people are mistakenly understood that it's what features to be tested, what features not to be. That's correct. That's exactly correct, guys. But before that, you need to think one step ahead. Right? What is your boundary? What's your territory? Right? That's important. Now look at this image. Right? So can you see this red color boundary? That's a boundary. Now, if you are working in this, if you are working in this project, right? When you are getting this requirement, you need to understand, or you need to question, you need to clarify from your client or your scrum master or project manager or architect, who a person, as a quality engineering team, what's your boundary is. But in this example, your boundary is here, red color one, right? So next, now, when you identified your boundary, then only you can think of your in-scope features, out-of features, right? Now, take the same example. This is the API gateway here, right? At the client web app in the downside. And there are so many microservices. Now, when you're going to test, when you're defining it, so now you know your boundary. Now you are plan your test strategy or test plan, thinking that, okay, API gateway, we can use some sort of a API testing. Maybe it's REST2, maybe so. You can do whatever you can select your tool. Right, then there's this API is interconnected to the microservices. How do you going to test that? It's your responsibility, it's your accountability under your territory. You are responsible to deliver at least 95 or 99 percentage of defect-free product under your scope. Pretty much important, right? And then how do you identify the sequence of API? It's under this your territory, under this red color box. Now, what about other side? In the left-hand side, client mobile app, client is web app, and the traditional web app. They are important. They're important because you cannot carry out to end-to-end whole testing without these endpoints, integration points, right? But it's not your in scope, but it's not your responsibility to test that particular mobile app or client SPA web app or traditional web app. Hope you got my, you hope you're following me, right? But you need that. Don't misunderstand, guys. So when you're doing your API gateways, API testing, sometimes your API sequence might need to connect to client mobile app in order to carry out the end-to-end journey. Then only you are confident enough to my system is work 100%. Right? Meaning you know your destination, you know holistic view. When you're doing the testing, I'm connecting the previous slides as a last point of my confidence. You see holistic view, you see bird eye view, you define whatever the name, you know end-to-end journey. So in that case, while you are defending your territory, red color one, and you connect to the other side in order to carry out your end-to-end. Now let's go for next second one. Define your scope second one. Now let's see, same, very similar, but your territory is different, right? See the red color box, right? I have purposely make it as a only API gateway. Other side you can see catalog API, basket API, and there is a RabbitMQ, right? And MongoDBs, web status. That's not your scope. But your boundary is this API gateway only, right? You are getting requests from client apps, right? At the same time, you are exposing or responding to the API in the other side, the right-hand side, right? Now, we're not going to test it. First, to identify a scope. What's the scope here? Test the API gateway, right? So it's only APIs. You select your tool, you understand your tool, SOAP or REST, and you understand your API sequence, right? You know you are getting some API requests from web apps, and your job is to, once the API is passed into this API gateway, you do some sort of logic according to requirement and return, right? Maybe you can use performance test in order to carry out your whatever the API you develop, you apply up to the level of customer expectation within this scope, not this side or not this side. But again, your holistic view, be a be a smart engineer. You need to understand. You should not like a garment fact person, right? You need to understand that you are you are testing a product which having left hand side as a right hand side, meaning you need some validations, you need some connection between left hand side and right hand in order to carry out end-to-end testing. Maybe there can be issues popped up with this faces or this side, but you're not going to responsible. You just alert them. There's a, hey guys, there's a issue comes in your side. Please check it. It doesn't matter for you because you have done your job, right? That's the scope, guys. Within the scope, you can define your test strategy, right? You can define your test plan, what to be tested, what not to be tested, exceptions, suggestions, you name it, risk, everything you put into here. Okay. So this is another critical value, what we have experienced most of the time in even my team, my members are missed to understand what is our boundary, what is our existence as a quality engineering team, what is our existence of this project. This is under this red rectangle box. This is your existence. Hope you're clear. Right? Let's move to next one. Right? Now, this is the good part where now up to now, this slide, what I tell you is try to emphasize uh, this psychology or else conceptual part to build in your mind. To be a fearless tester, how do you develop your confidence in different attributes? Right now, let's see how these values we can apply into a real life scenario. I hand over my colleague Buddika to continue with the next point onwards.
Buddika, you're on mute, Buddika.
Sorry.
Yes, can hear you now.
One second. Right. Hope I'm audible. Sahan?
Yes, Buddika.
Okay.
Carry on.
Right. So good afternoon all. Thanks for joining again. Yeah. So I'll connect with what where the Lahiru has stopped. Right. So Lahiru mentioned that. So in order to have a fearless testing, so we need to build our self-confidence on what we are going to test. Right. So I'll go through that, what kind of things that you need to be think of before you, going to, test a particular software product, right? As mentioned, the first thing is that you need to define your testing boundary or testing scope, because you know that any software project or any software piece, right? So we can test n number of testers, right? So the test cases, the testing, the activities, right? So so those are kind of like infinite number of numbers, right? So we can't do all the testing with limited time. We all know that we are working in very strict deadlines, right? With the several industry things like the go to market and the competitors, those things, right? So we need to push our product to the market very quick time, and of course we have a limited time for do that, right? So with that, so we need to basically plan our test according to that, and we need to prioritize our test, right? Why we need to prioritize our test? Because we have a lot of test cases, and we should identify what kind of test that we need to do, which we need to execute in very first time or very first goal, right? Why? We need to understand what tests need to be test first, what tests need to be test most, what tests we need to do very thoroughly, and what tests we do not do. There are some test cases that we can categorize. Okay, we are not doing anything. We don't execute those test cases, right? So that is purely based on the risk, the product risk that we identify, right? So if you can see my screen, right? So it has a simple diagram which has uh, categorized the risk impact and the probability of having the risk. So with that, we can say, right? So we have high risk areas, and the probability of occurrence of that risk is very high. So that piece of test cases we need to do first, and we need to do it very thoroughly, right? So that's a prioritization, very important thing when you are coming to the test plan, right? You can plan the test. Under that, you can say, okay, so these are the test types that we are going to execute, like smoke test, regression, mobile testing, very popular thing in today's world, right? So we need to prioritize. So why we need to prioritize, right? So why we need to prioritize the testing? Because so we all are human, right? So all these smart things, smart gadgets, smart whatever smart things, right? Are developed by humans, right? So humans are very much error prone guys, right? So they do mistakes and we also do mistakes. So ultimately it will be ended up with the failure, right? So there is no system with zero defects. So that is the principle that we need to understand, right? So there are no system with zero defects. Every system, so you can have at least one defect, right? Because of those applications are developed by humans, and those applications are used by the humans, right? So they do some crazy things, right? And it will come up with the issue, right? So uh, right, so for that to include that point, right? So the second point, so no perfect engineer, so we don't have any perfect guys here. We know something, but not everything, right? So that's why these we need to focus on we need to understand the risk which is associated with the product, and we need to plan accordingly, right? Another thing is that the deadlines, right? So we have very strict deadline. So I think we all know that we mostly run on the agile environments, right? So which is time box that you are you are committed to deliver something within shorter time period. So we need to uh, 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 scope out our testing to complete within the sprint. So with the deadline we may miss I mean a lot of the testing that we will lose the time to to do a proper testing, a quality testing. But we need to prioritize and we need to execute whatever the things, whatever the prioritized one within the time box, right? And so we can't you all, we need to understand always that we cannot achieve 100% test coverage, right? Because of uh, if you take application, so it has multiple inputs. We cannot test all the inputs. We will be ended up with multiple combination of test, right? That the particular functionality which has multiple flows, right? For example, like let's say the payment gateway, right? So people can do the payment by bank accounts, credit cards. So credit cards has multiple vendors like we Visa, Master, Amex, and they have multiple the progression path, right? So we cannot do it is impossible to do. I don't say we cannot do, but it's impossible to do with the timeline, right? And think about the behavioral aspects, right? So compatibility, right? So let's say let's take the mobile application. So how many mobile varieties that we have in current market, right? So we have Apple devices, right? Android devices. So if you take Android devices, we have Samsung, Vivo, Xiaomi, X number of uh, the devices, right? Think about the operating system which has, right? So Apple, it has Apple version 10, version 6, version 11, 12, 13, 15, 15, 16, the latest version, right? And it has introduced very fancy thing like the recently iPhone 17, 14, sorry, 14, which has that dynamic island, right? So there are multiple parameters that we need to test when it comes to mobile, right? So different platforms, different devices, different browsers, different screen sizes, different the skins, right? So UI must be we can't say that this is breaking on this device, but we need to say, okay, so we need to make sure that, okay, so our application, our mobile application is working fine, at least these devices. So we can, we can have other alternative to, check on other devices, but, that's the thing, right? So with the, these type of the varieties, right? So we cannot achieve the 100% test coverage. So that's why we need the prioritizations, right? So prioritization station is a very must when you are coming with the confidence to do the testing. So we need to, make a boundary. Okay, so these type of testing and these type of test cases that we are going to test or we are going to achieve with this timeline. So that's the message that we want to emphasize, right? Right. So coming to next slide, right? So quality and testing. So I think some of you guys are not, referring the same thing, quality and the testing, but it's two different things, right? So quality is something like it is a process oriented approach, right? And that is again I would say the proactive mechanism that we can, use to say that we are delivering a quality product, right? So we can achieve that quality by doing the testing. So this testing is a reactive one. So we need to do testing again and again and again and again to ensure that our product is quality enough, right? So quality and the testing, the relationship is that. So we can the measure the quality by doing the testing, right? And the quality is again the quality we are talking about, the quality engineering. So quality engineering is purely to prevent the defect, right? So if you consider 20 10 20 years back, right? So QA people and the development people are kind of Russia and Ukraine. They are always fighting, right? Right. But now the mindset is changed. The way of software delivering the development is changed, right? So we work together to deliver a quality product, right? So we always try to prevent the defects. We need to identify the defects at the very first stage, from the requirement gathering, from the coding level, right? So before coming to the QA, the testing phase of the software development lifecycle, so we are passing several quality gates to prevent injecting defect, right? So quality is that, right? Okay, let's move on. Right. So this is a very simple, the evolution of software quality engineering. So we know all the fields we have generation, right? So we have, if you take computers, so we have first generation, second generation, likewise, and vehicle. So there are generations. So why not for the quality engineering, right? So quality engineering, which starts with the manual testing, right? So then it comes to the automation. So that's the second generation of quality engineering area, and so just passing the open source automation frameworks, and we just jumped to the fifth generation of the software quality engineering, where we the industry is dominated most of the autonomous things, right? So we try to do the things automatically, right? So that's another new area that as a QA quality engineering aspect, that's a new area that we need to looking at. So what are the things that we can uh, uh, we can give our expertise, we can grow our expertise on those areas, right? So let's discuss a couple of the grooming areas in next couple of slides, right? So coming back to the current software quality engineering field, right? So we are looking for a skill set, right, which is matched to the fourth and fifth generation quality engineering person, right? So we have some set of basic skills that we are looking at when you want to groom yourself in the quality engineering area, right? So we need to have very thorough and quality engineering fundamentals, right? So what are the testing types we use, and when we use those testing types, right? So what are the inputs, what are the outputs, right? We can take from those the testing types and the software development life cycle. So because I mentioned that quality is starting from the very first step, first phase, like let's say requirement gathering. So you need to understand, you need to very thorough on the software development life cycle that you are following on, right? Then the process, if you have a process, so what are the things that process that included in the process? So you need to very thorough, and you need to follow on, and the very effective test designing and efficient test execution. Why we emphasize that? Because so any engineer can, if I ask to write down test cases, so that particular engineer can do, thousands of test cases, right? But an engineer can, cover those, 1,000 test cases by, two test cases. So that is the effective of the test design. So we need to cut down our test designing time, right, and execution time, and increase the efficiency, increase the coverage of the test case, right? So that's the two points that I need to mention. So effective test designing. So we need to design very few test cases to cover maximum of the functionalities, right? And the database management system. So that we, we are in a world that the APIs are dominating, right? So we don't have any front end to validate our test, right? So we always need to go back and go to the database and check whether those are working correctly, right? So database management system awareness and the knowledge is must for the fourth generation and fifth generation uh, QA engineers. Plus, so those are very fundamental things that you should have. You should have the skill set in order to go with the quality engineering path. Plus, so we are in a kind of uh, the agile development methodologies are following right now. I mean, most of the cases we are following the agile development, right? So agile development awareness, API testing, as I mentioned, right? So we don't the application doesn't come up with uh, the UI or the fancy, the web browser or the mobile app base, but we need to plug those UIs into our backend. So we do the API testing, so that awareness and the knowledge about the API testing is must. I mean, if you consider today's the market demand, right? And the mobile testing, right? So we are in information area where the information dominant, right? So we do all the things based on the information right now. So mobile is playing a very crucial role in that, right? So with the demand, so the mobile testing awareness is a must, right? And CMMI, capability maturity model, the model integration, so which is kind of the measurement that uh, the industry is using, and CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous development or deployment, right? So most of the I mean, almost all the companies are following those things, and the Linux. So that is for the backend thing. So those are the basic skill set that we are looking for from a QA engineer. I mean, with compared to the today's the demand, right? Then the technical exposure, right? So we are just talking about the basic set of skills, and on top of that, right? So we that we are doing lot of testing types. We do functional testing, we do automation testing, we do API testing, we do performance testing, we do security testing, right? So different type of testing that we are referring in right now, right? So as a QA engineer in the 5th generation QA engineer, right? So you must have at least two technical technical skills on top of the basic skills, right? So that's why we have included there, right? So if we have test automation or the performance testing is playing a very crucial part in modern software development, right? So applications are accessing by millions of people, and we need to ensure that our applications are safe enough to cater the customer's request, right? So test automation coming into the picture because we know that we have very limited time to achieve uh, very significant test coverage, and test automation is playing a crucial part to achieve our target, right? So we can automate our regression testing, and we can focus on the whatever the new features, test the new features in the sprint, right? So we can hand it over the rest of the things to automation, our automation suite, right? And security testing is very, very important, right? Because the security is number one, because people using information, people sharing information. So security is playing a very major role in software development, right? It's ultimately comes to the testing fees as well, right? And CI/CD version control. So version controls, we are checking, we use different uh, repositories to store our codes, right? So we are using different branches. So we need to understand what is our branching strategy, because uh, 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 whatever the product is released, right? So if you want to check that, if there is any defect, so we need to check by switching to the production version quickly. And if we need to basically do a root cause analysis why it is happened. So that version controlling and branching strategies very much need to understand by the quality engineer, right? And I'm not talking about the Linux, because that's the skill that we refer in the last slide as well. The cloud, right? So almost, I mean, if I say 70% of our modern the developments are doing by the cloud, right? We are deploying the solution in the cloud, right? So awareness of those cloud technologies is it's very good to have for a quality engineer, because when quality engineer is doing the verification, right? So those the understanding and those experience might be help you to discover the bugs, and do the very effective test execution, right? And yeah, so coming back to the future trends, right? So in a previous slide, so I have mentioned that, so we just jump into the 5th generation of this quality engineering path, right? So what we see in our future, right? Which related to the quality engineering, few topics, few hot topics I have added here, right? So we are talking about the codeless test automation, because you have experienced that the test automation again, kind of a coding, right? So we need to do code again and again, and we need to maintain once the features are changed. So that is kind of some hassle is there, right? So the current trend is to reduce the coding effort. So codeless test automation is something like that, right? So so there are tools like Sikuli, tool called Sikuli, Kotlin, sorry, Catalan. Uh, so those are, we are not using much code here. It's codeless. We just if I say Sikuli as a tool, so we are just we just need to give the screenshots, or we just need to mark the button and press click, something like that. So we are reducing the code, because of, we need to reduce our the time to, time to develop a automation framework. So codeless test automation is the hot topic in these days, right? And IoT driven testing. So we are living with living in the world which where we have, a lot of Internet of Things the devices which connected each other and, do the things, right? So testing on that is one aspect, and we can use IoT for the our testing. So that's another aspect, right? There are two aspects in the IoT driven testing, and artificial intelligence and machine learning things, right? That is very, very, the big topic and big, two buzzwords right now, in IT world is, talking about, right? So we can develop AI and ML based application, but we have a skill to test that, right? And big data testing, again, we are dealing with a lot of data. um, uh, so for that, we need to have some set of skills, so some sort of, way to test those outputs are correct, right? So performance engineering, which is, coming from, I mean, 20 or 30 years back, right? So that is again evaluating, right, performance engineering, because, if you take a application like Facebook, right? So that is the profile that it has is, I mean, very much equal to the population in the world, right? So assume that how much users are accessing, how much we need to think about the performance aspect of that kind of application, right? So performance engineering, it will be never, ending, right? So it will be growing, I mean, growing and growing to the future, right? Cybersecurity, again, the security testing with the, uh, with the with uh, the the interest, or the, with the usage of those applications, right? So the security aspect is comes to the picture, right? So it needs to more focus on the security, right? And the blockchain. So today we are talking about, most of the, the cryptocurrencies and all. So the fundamental of that is the blockchain. So blockchain, again, it is kind of a ledger that, the data is exchanging, right? So that is again the hot topic that we are discussing right now to, uh, to build up the way of, the verify those things. Uh, right. So with that, uh, we comes to the end. So in ADL, so we actually uh, uh, we have 200 plus quality engineering professionals are working here across the three geolocation: Sri Lanka, Malaysia, and Indonesia. And we are using we are heavily using multiple, tools in our day-to-day works. So we have our own stack tool stack. We call it Gallop. So Gallop is one of our test automation frameworks, and on top of that, we have developed the Gallop Trail, which is the codeless automation tool to, increase our uh, test scripting, basically test designing. And we are using we heavily use the open source tools like, Selenium, Appium for the mobile automation, Jenkins for the, the build automation, TestNG and Selenium. So both are, working, both are using for the test automation. And we use JMeter for the performance engineering and performance testing in ADL. Yeah, I think that's it for our session. So thanks very much. So we will have a couple of minutes if you have any questions, so we can discuss them.
Thank you, Buddika. Thank you, Lahiru, for carrying out that insightful session on QA and fearless testing. a rather insightful session. I think we had the largest turnout in this session, 190 plus people. So yeah, let's give each other, give the others a chance to see if they have any questions.
So we welcome any questions if you have.
Yeah. Even freshers or undergraduates, if you have any concerns, especially when you are moving for a next your journey, basically you are stepping up your industry, maybe your interview questions, how do you
Asita,
face the interview?
a
Yeah, yeah,
question.
Martin.
Asti, you can unmute yourself and ask. Lasita?
Lasita on mute, I guess.
Yeah, he raised his hand. He has a question. Yeah, maybe an accident then maybe. Yeah, so I think we can wind up this session. Thank you, Buddika. Thank you, Lahiru, once again for
Yeah.
spending your Tuesday afternoon with us, sharing your knowledge on QA and fearless testing. Hopefully, we can do another session in the future.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much for the participation.
Really appreciate you guys for participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Lahiru. Thank you, Buddika.
Pravina here. Lakitu, can you hear me?
Yeah, Praveen.
You said about some codeless testing, right, for the automation. Can we have what type of tools it is there for codeless testing?
Pravina, can you come again, please? We didn't hear you exactly. Can you come again, please?
Buddika has told about some codeless testing, right, for the
Yeah.
automation.
Yeah.
Can you tell about any of the tools that you used for the codeless testing?
Pravina. So in ADL, we use the Gallop Trail, which is our own developed tool. So you can use that in basically scripting and execution.